Hey everybody, it's Josh Alexander from Orange County Housing Market News. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you again for your continued support. I really appreciate it. If this is the first time you're tuning into this show is all about Orange County real estate. So I go over local trends happening in the market, I interview other local experts in the same field, and then I go over some tricks and tips for both buyers and sellers so that way if you are thinking about getting into the market, you'll know exactly what to expect and be one step ahead of everybody else. Now, one final thing, if you are finding this content useful, if you can please hit that like and subscribe button, or if you're watching this on YouTube, also that bell button, that way you're notified every time a new episode comes out. And if you're listening to this through podcast form, please go ahead and take a minute just to rate me, let me know how I'm doing. I'd really appreciate it. So in today's episode, I'm going to be taking the last year of experience I've had working with buyers in this crazy, insane, once-in-a-lifetime seller's market and going over the top 5 mistakes that I'm seeing buyers make right now in this market that's preventing them from getting into a home. So if you're a buyer right now having trouble getting into a house or thinking about getting into the market, this episode is definitely worth checking out. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so really quick, before we get into the mistakes that buyers are making, I do want to point out that if you are looking to buy a house or currently trying to buy a house and having troubles getting your offers accepted, I did make a 2-part series earlier in March, I believe it was. I'll put a link up here of what to do and how to structure offers and what kind of team you need to be able to make sure you're being as competitive as possible and giving yourself the best shot at getting into escrow. So between those 2 episodes telling you what to do and this episode is going to tell you what not to do, hopefully that's going to give you a good understanding and a really high chance of being able to get your offer accepted, go through escrow, finally close on that house, and become a homeowner. So let's go ahead and start talking about the 5 mistakes that buyers are making right now. And these are in no particular order of importance, but they are the most common things that I'm seeing buyers do. So you want to make sure you pay attention to all of them. That way you're giving yourself the best shot at getting your offer accepted. So number 1 is not having a pre-approval letter and not working with the right lender before you start the home buying process. Now let's start with the pre-approval portion first. Now with pre-approvals, if you've ever done any research about buying a home or have looked into purchasing a home, you've probably come across articles saying that you need to have a pre-approval letter before you go look for a home. Now traditionally, one of the biggest reasons for that was that you don't want to go find a home, fall in love with it, go back to write an offer, then you talk to your lender only to find out that you can't qualify to purchase that home, and then you have your heart crushed. In today's market, however, there's 2 additional reasons that having that pre-approval letter is extremely important before you even start looking at homes. So the first reason is right now, the last survey that I saw, over 50% of homes in California are going off the market in less than 7 days. So if you go tour a home and then have to get a pre-approval done from a lender, by the time that happens, often the home is already going to be in escrow and you are going to miss out on it. So right now, more than ever, it's important to have all the paperwork you need, which includes that pre-approval letter up front before you start looking at homes. So if you like the house, you can put in an offer immediately and have a good shot at least trying to get into it and being competitive with the other buyers. The second reason you really need to have a pre-approval right now is because it's such a hot seller's market. There are some sellers that are not even letting you see the house unless you have that pre-approval and show it to them as proof. So right now, without that pre-approval, not only are you not allowed to place an offer on a home, you might not even be able to see the home without it. So having that up front is extremely important. Now let's talk about the lending side. Okay, so in a traditional market, what I usually see buyers do when they go out looking for the lender they want to work with is they're going to talk to their credit union, talk to their bank, send them the information, get pre-approved, and say, hey, I'm ready to go. Maybe you'll talk to one additional lender, and that way they can get a comparison on rates to be able to figure out who's going to give them the best rate and then end up working with that lender instead. However, in today's market, you need to be a lot more selective about which lender you choose to work with because it could literally make or break the deal for you. So here's a couple things you need to be asking lenders when you're interviewing them to figure out if they're going to be the best lender for you and give you the best chance of getting into escrow when you're competing with 5 to 10 buyers on every home you're putting an offer in right now. So the first question, this one's kind of an all-encompassing question, is what are you doing differently than other lenders that's going to help me get my offer accepted over another 5 or 10 buyers that are placing offers on the same home? If they can't answer that question for you, that could be a red flag that you might need to work with somebody else. Now, the reason I say this is because lenders actually have a pretty big role in getting an offer accepted. And there's a few things that lenders can be doing that I've seen lenders do before that has helped out get these buyers into escrow so that way they can purchase their home. So let's go over a few of them. So after you ask that general question, let's get some more specifics from the lender to figure out if they're going to be the right fit for you. So the next question you need to be asking is, can you close escrow in less than 30 days? If you're going and trying to purchase a home from a seller and the seller is in a bind and needs to close escrow, let's say in 21 days or 25 days, is the lender flexible enough to be able to do that? When you work with some of these bigger lenders, oftentimes you have to fit everything in a box. They can't close escrow in less than 30 days. You can't remove contingencies until the typical time period. Everything flows this exact same with every single file they have. If you're working with that type of lender in this market, you're going to be putting yourself at a disadvantage. Another question you could be asking the lender is, what are you doing on your end that's going to help me reduce my appraisal and loan contingency when I place an offer on a home? So right now, it's almost expected, unfortunately, at this point for buyers to be able to reduce contingencies to make their offers competitive. So if the lender doesn't understand this and is not doing things proactively to help work with you to be able to reduce these contingencies, that's another red flag that they just don't have the flexibility needed right now to be able to get you into a house. So if the lender isn't telling you, hey, as soon as you get an offer accepted, get me in contact with escrow, get me the contract, we're going to get everything we need as soon as we can, make sure it happens so we can get the appraisal ordered, so you don't need to go the full 17 days, which is typically what you see in a contract for your appraisal contingency. Same thing with the loan. Are they doing all the paperwork up front so you don't have to have a 21-day contingency, which is the typical contingency for your loan? Maybe reduce it because everything is done up front and they don't need that much time. If your lender can't explain this to you and you don't see that they're proactively doing these things, again, another red flag to watch out for. Something else that I've seen lenders do to help you be more competitive is a way of kind of guaranteeing that the loan is going to close in a certain time frame. Otherwise, the seller is getting some financial benefit. So what I mean by this is a lot of lenders right now that know the market are saying, hey, if I can't close your loan in 30 days, I'm going to pay the seller $100 a day until that loan's closed if the loan isn't closed for something that was my fault. So that just basically tells the seller, hey, I have confidence that this loan is going to close in 30 days, and I'm so confident that the lender is willing to put out money every single day if this loan doesn't close on time for some reason. Because sellers are concerned that the escrow is not going to close on time, because often sellers are also trying to purchase homes of their own. So they need you to keep to your timeline so they can stay on their timelines, and that way everything works out so they can purchase their new home. So having a lender that's able to say, hey, I'm so confident that I can close it in 30 days. If not, I'm going to give the seller some financial benefit is going to be another competitive advantage that you're not going to see from a lot of lenders. So you want to make sure that the lender you're working with has options like that available and creative options to be able to help you get into escrow. Now, finally, this is something extremely easy that all lenders should be able to do, and if they can't, you should probably walk away from them immediately, but it's something that you need to set those expectations up front with both the lender and the agent that you're working with, is the lender should be calling the selling agent every time you place an offer to let them know how solid your loan is and to go over any questions the selling agent might have. You'd be surprised on how much confidence this gives a selling agent when they're talking to the seller about your specific offer, because the lender called them. Not many lenders are doing this, but it takes 5 minutes out of their day. They call the agent, let them know this loan is great, there's no problem with them closing, financials look good, you have plenty of reserves, all that kind of stuff that's going to give the seller one more reason to go with your offer over somebody else's. So those are just a few things that lenders can be doing right now, but it's important to ask these questions before you decide to work with a specific lender, because if they don't have the flexibility and they don't understand the market and what is needed to get you into a home right now, it might not be the smartest choice to work with that specific lender right now. You need every single advantage you can get. Okay, so mistake number 2 that I see buyers make often is thinking that they need 20% down payment to be able to purchase a home, as well as not knowing all the loan options available to them through their lender. So right now in the United States, typically you don't need more than about 3 to 3.5% down payment when you're trying to purchase a house. And that might be a shock for some people that have read over and over again that you need a 20% down payment in order to purchase a home. Especially here in Southern California, saving up enough money for some people to get 20% down is going to be extremely difficult when rents are high, when other expenses are high. It's hard to put away a lot of money. So knowing that you only need 3 to 3.5% down might change your mind on when you might be looking to purchase a house. So make sure you talk to your real estate agent as well as your lender about those low down payment options. And on top of that, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, there are grant programs out there that can give you free money just for being a first-time home buyer. And so you're not only getting a lower down payment loan that you might have thought is available to you, you're getting money on top of that to be able to help with that down payment and closing costs. So that way you're able to get into a home with a lot less money. So the second part of this, which also has to do with down payment, is that you need to know your loan options up front before you start placing offers on homes. And let me explain why. So I know this is going to be a little controversial, but let's say you do have 15% to put down on a home. Well, in a normal market, you're usually saying, here's my highest price, and I'm putting as much as I can down on this home for the down payment to make my offer look as strong as possible. However, in today's market, one of the biggest reasons that escrows are falling apart right now has to do with the appraisal not coming back at value. So if you're not familiar with what appraisal is, basically if you're buying a home with a loan, the appraiser has to go out there and they value the property to make sure that the lender is covered so you're not overpaying for the house. And in this market, when you're competing with 5 or 10 other people and bidding wars are starting over and over again, increasing these prices so high, a lot of times the appraisals are not coming back at value. So what does that mean? Well, let's say, for instance, that you offer to pay $525,000 for a house. The house only appraises for $500,000. One of 3 things is going to have to happen for you to stay in escrow. Either 1, you as the buyer are going to have to come up with the difference in the price. So in this case, you would have to come up with $25,000 out of pocket to be able to cover the difference between the appraised value and your offer price. The second thing that could happen is the seller could lower their price to whatever the appraised value was. So in this market, the seller typically is not going to come down very much, if at all, because they know there's another couple buyers behind you that they can try to get into escrow, and maybe they can negotiate with them to either remove their appraisal contingency or at least have them commit to pay a set dollar difference between what it appraises for and what the actual value that they offered to pay was. So for instance, what a lot of buyers are having to do right now is saying that I can't remove my appraisal contingency altogether, but I can upfront tell you that I'm committed to pay $20,000 of the difference if the appraisal doesn't come back at value. And this gives the seller some security, knowing that no matter what, they're at least going to get the appraised value plus $20,000. So typically you're going to see buyers lining up right behind you with those type of offers. So the chances of the seller reducing their price significantly are pretty low right now. Now, the third option available to keep you both in escrow would be that somehow you meet somewhere in the middle. So let's say the seller knocks $5,000 off the price and you come up $20,000, or they knock $10,000 off the price and you come up $15,000. So that definitely can happen. You have to have a seller willing to do that. Again, in this market, it's less likely, but it could happen where they come down at least a little bit and then you'd have to cover a set amount of difference on there. So all that being said, that kind of brings me back to the point what I was talking about is you need to know the different loan options available to you. So yes, you might have 15% to put down on your house, but have you talked to the lender about what it would look like and what your payments would be if you only put 10% down? How much money is that going to give you in the bank? Because sellers right now are looking for not only a high price, but they're also looking at, okay, how do I make sure that this buyer is going to stay in escrow? And one of the biggest reasons, like I said, that it's falling out right now is because it's not appraising. So if the seller sees you have a chunk of money in your account, they at least know that you have the ability to be able to come up. Not that you will, but at least that you have the ability to come up if you really like the house and it doesn't come in at the appraised value. So it might benefit you to have a little bit of money in your account to be able to show the seller that you have some flexibility, because in this market, that could make your offer stronger than putting a 15% down payment. If you put 10% down and have $30,000 or $40,000 in your bank, the seller might be attracted to that more right now because of the security it provides of them actually be able to close escrow with you. Because you have to think of it from the seller's point of view, they might be trying to buy a house of their own right now as well. So if you don't close escrow and you have to back out, they might lose the house they're trying to purchase, and they don't want that to happen. So they want to find someone that is secure as possible, that they know is going to close. And one of the biggest things that sellers are looking for right now is how much reserves do you have in your accounts to be able to cover something if something happened during escrow where you have to spend some money. So just keep that in mind. You just want to make sure you're talking to your lender so you know your options. And so that way, when you structure your offer, you're structuring it not only to keep yourself safe, but also making sure that you're structuring it in a way that's going to be most appealing to the seller based on that specific circumstance. So all that being said, and the reason why I brought this up is you want to know your options available to you, and you need to be discussing this with the lender before you start placing offers, so you know these options, so you can figure out what's going to be the best decision when you're placing each individual offer on these homes. You want to talk to the lender and say, hey, I have 15%. I'd love to put 15% down. What do my payments look like? What does the loan look like? Well, what if I put 10% down? Can I still do that? What are the payments going to look like? What is the loan going to look like? You want to know these options available to you. So if you're in a situation where you find a house you love, but the seller's concerned that you don't have enough funds, and you're okay with it, and you understand the financial picture of going with a lower down payment, then you have the ability, and you already know that up front, that, hey, I could put 10% down, have 30 or 40 grand extra in the bank right now, and be able to show the seller that I have some way of negotiating if something were to happen in escrow. Okay, so thanks for sticking with me for that last one. I know it was a little bit long-winded. The next three are going to be a lot shorter, I promise. Okay, so number 3 is going to be going out and only looking at those fully renovated HGTV type of homes. Now, in a normal market, you're always going to be paying a premium for those brand new homes that have a new kitchen, new bathrooms, new floor, new paint, because everybody likes those homes. So you're going to have more competition. Obviously, house flippers wouldn't flip houses if they're not going to make a profit of doing those upgrades and then selling it to you for a premium. However, in this market, you're basically paying a premium on top of a premium to get in those type of homes right now. So if that's the only type of home you want to go with, just know you're going to be paying way over market value for them. You're going to have a lot of competition for the home, because that's where most of the eyeballs are going right now, are those fully renovated homes. So if you want to be able to get into a home that's going to be closer to market value, what I recommend concentrating on are those homes that are still move-in ready, but maybe need a bathroom or two updated in the future, need some new flooring, need some new paint, because you're going to have less competition, which means less of that crazy bidding war happening, and you'll be able to get the home for closer to market value. You're still paying a premium in this market on pretty much every home right now because of the way the market is, but it's much less of a premium. You're getting at closer to market value. And then the added benefit is over time, you have the ability to put your own touch with your own finishes on the house that you're going to like a lot better than just the generic ones you see most flippers do. So when you go out looking for homes, make sure you're keeping that open mind and looking at not only those fully renovated homes, but the ones that might need a little bit of work and that might take a few years after you save up to go through and redo exactly how you like it. In the end, you really want to make sure that you're finding a home that's going to be great for you and fit all your family's needs, but at the same time, still have something that's close to market value so your home is able to appreciate faster in the coming years. Okay, so mistake number 4 is being a buyer that thinks they have a crystal ball and is going to predict the crash of the market and just saying, I'm waiting on the sidelines for the market to drop 40% and then I'm going to come in, swoop up a home and get a great deal on it. I'm here to tell you that the exact opposite of that is happening right now. Every month that goes by, the experts and the data is now showing that appreciation is happening faster and faster, and now the experts keep having to revise their predictions on how much appreciation we're going to have by the end of this year and going through next year as well. So the longer you wait on the sidelines, the more appreciation is going to happen, the higher interest rates are predicted to be, and you're going to be pricing yourself out of the market. Now, I can do an entire episode on why this market is nothing like it was before the last housing crash, but a few data points that just kind of give you an idea of why I'm so bullish on this housing market right now. Let's look at the inventory first. So right now, the 5-year trend for inventory in Southern California around this time is going to be about 40,000 homes active on the market. Can you guess at where we're at right now? Just barely over 17,000. So we would need more than double the inventory on the market just to get back to a normal market, not even to mention getting back to a balanced market or a buyer's market. We would have to have such a large flood of inventory on the market that there's no one that's predicting that many homes hitting the market. On top of that, builders have been building less because lumber prices and cost of building has been going up. So those are less homes hitting the market in the future. And we're also right in the midst of the largest demographic patch in the United States ever coming into peak home buying season. So that's the millennials. Between 2020 and 2024, the majority of the millennial generation is hitting that peak home buying age. So there is going to be a lot of demand in the housing market all the way through 2024 because all these millennials are now getting married, they're having kids, they want to find places to live, they no longer want to rent, they don't want to live with their parents anymore. There's a lot of people looking to purchase homes in the next couple years. So it's expected over the next couple years to have high demand, it's expected to have low inventory, which ultimately is going to mean appreciation is going to continue happening. Now, could there be something that happens that shifts the market? Yes, interest rates can jump up, let's say past 5% and really hamper the demand, making inventory start rising and slowly balancing the market. However, even if interest rates jump up, again, because inventory is starting at such a low rate right now, it would take a while before the inventory starts to get to a point where you're seeing anywhere close to a balanced or buyer's market. So if you're waiting on the sidelines saying, hey, in 3 months, the market's going to crash. In 6 months, the market's going to crash. The data is just not showing that right now. And most likely what is going to happen is you're going to be out there going into November, December, saying I should have bought a home during the summertime because now the house I wanted to purchase is another $100,000 more expensive and interest rates went from 3% up to 3.75%. And now I'm going to have to be purchasing this home at an even higher rate. So if you're thinking about purchasing a home, you always want to make sure that you're purchasing long-term, 5 years plus is what I recommend. And that way you can always ride out anything that does happen in the market and appreciation will take care of itself historically when you start looking at homeownership as an investment versus how am I going to make money in the next 2 or 3 years. Okay, so the fifth and final mistake that I see happen time and time again with buyers is underestimating the time it takes to find a house, get into escrow, and close escrow in today's market. So in a traditional market, maybe you have to be out of your lease, let's say 60 days from now. You start looking, you're going to have plenty of time to be able to look for a home, place offers, get it accepted, and close escrow before you have to get out of your place. In today's market, it's completely different. You might have to place 5 or 10 offers to be able to get into a house. And on top of that, because inventory is so limited, it might take you a while to find a house you want to place an offer on. So you really have to prepare for that. And I'm telling my clients, you really want to start looking at least 3 months in advance so you know what's out there. You're giving yourself enough time so you're not stressing out and then all of a sudden panic buying a house because you have to leave your current place and then ending up with a property that you don't like, that you regret, and that you no longer want to live there after a year because you outgrow it or it's not in the right neighborhood. So you want to give yourself a lot of time because a home buying process is very stressful right now. And you want to try to find ways to eliminate as much stress as possible. So if you can eliminate any stress from the timeline, it's going to help you have a more enjoyable experience, and it's going to ultimately help you find the right home that's going to be able to fit you for years to come. So a good test that I like to tell my clients to do to kind of figure out how long it might take you to find a property is before you're ready to start looking, go on Zillow, go on Redfin, and then go type in, set up an alert for the type of properties you're looking for. So go ahead and put in the neighborhoods you're looking for, the cities you're looking for, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, the price range, and then see what alerts come at you. If you're going through a week and you're getting 20, 30 homes popping up saying, hey, this property is right for you, then you know there's probably some good options coming out almost every single day that you might be ready to check out. Now, if you're going in, typing your information, and you're seeing 1, 2, 3 properties a week at most pop up, then you know, okay, the type of property I'm looking for is not coming on the market very often right now. I'm going to have to give myself a little bit longer to find that property because the odds of me finding the right place, getting the offer accepted are going to be a lot lower when I'm only dealing with a few properties a week that are popping up that I'm actually interested in even looking at. So that's an easy test to kind of give yourself at least a basic understanding of how long it might take you to find a home. So I always recommend you start that process before you go looking to buy a home so you can have those expectations set and understand your timelines a little better based on that. Okay, so if you're a buyer and you've made it through this entire video, you're probably sitting there depressed because there's so much going on that's against you right now as a buyer in the housing market. So I don't want to end this on a negative note for you. So I want to go over some of the positive things that are happening for you in the market right now. So number one, interest rates are still around 3% right now. They're hovering at all-time lows, which means your dollar has gone farther than ever before in the history of trying to buy a house. So you need to keep that in mind when you're trying to purchase a home, because when you lock in that rate, you'll be able to look back 10 years from now and realize what a great deal you got on your interest rate when you did purchase that home. Number two, there should be some inventory finally starting to hit the market. It has been slowly upticking week after week, but it should start accelerating as we enter June and July, because the summer months, typically demand starts dropping as buyers go out and go on vacation, go to the beach. They get distracted, so demand will start to drop a little bit during the summertime. At the same time, you start seeing more and more people put their homes on for sale now that school's out and they don't have to worry about trying to sell their home at the same time of dealing with school distractions. So inventory should start rising week after week, which means you have more options, a little bit less competition. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't mean we're going to be out of a seller's market anytime soon, but hopefully as the weeks go on, you'll be able to see more and more options for you out there when you're looking to purchase your home. Now, lastly, you want to keep that home ownership goal in mind. So if you're leasing right now, renting properties, you're basically throwing away money every single month. Once you get into a house and you start paying a mortgage, now you're actually starting to build wealth. Your money is actually going somewhere and you're building assets as you pay every single month. Another thing about homeownership is you don't have to worry about rents increasing. So once you find that mortgage at that low interest rate, you have that locked in for a 30-year period. So you're going to have much more predictability when it comes to your monthly expenses. You don't have to worry about what is my landlord going to raise my rent to this year and have to worry about that every single year over and over again. Because if you've been renting, you probably know rent typically goes up every single year. And so it's really hard to plan and budget when you don't know what your rent's going to be next year or the year after that. And finally, which is not talked about often enough, is the tax deductions involved once you purchase a home. So when you purchase a home, you're able to take a lot more deductions than you could have as a renter or someone living at home with their parents. So make sure you talk to your tax professional so that way you can go over the full scope of the financial picture of owning a home and give you a better understanding of what it actually means financially for you when you go through and purchase a house, as well as the deductions that are involved. So I think if you look at that information, that's going to help give yourself a little bit more motivation to stay in the market and be able to have that perseverance to go out and place offers until you get something accepted so you can get into a house. So I hope this episode's been useful for those buyers out there that are either thinking about getting in the market or have been in the market but have a hard time getting their offer accepted. There's a lot of mistakes that can be easily fixed that you might be making that can give you a better shot at getting your offer accepted quicker so you can get into escrow and finally start becoming a homeowner. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you later. Bye. If you found this podcast useful, please hit subscribe and leave a review below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you have any family or friends that want some more information about buying or selling a home, or just want to stay updated on the Orange County housing market, please share it with them. It'd mean the world to me. Thanks.